And when you should Holocaust mean?
All right.
You have to wait like 3 days till I get there?
So tonight we're learning the third mimer, the third shir on this mimer. Mitzvas, hashbosas, Matzah Derech Mitzvosecha. We're going to start from the last paragraph of Beis. V'hine be'emes. Okay, so in honor of our guest, and hashbosas, our guest,
all
you're
of
the host. You make
all
it
of the guests.
Yeah. So just a quick recap of what's happening here. And hopefully we could also add something so it's not old news. The Arizal explains that when we make a bracha on Matzah lechem min haaretz, what he's saying is that what's the miracle? That lechem, grain, comes from sfiras hachachma. Like we learn in Chassidus that an apple, the sweetness of an apple, that's from Chesed Atzilus. Grain comes from Chachma Atzilus. What do we say? HaChachma techaya. You know this, right? There's such a lashon. Chachma gives life. Lechem yichya, right? Lea lechem levadoi, but bread is l'soiva. That's what satiates. Min haaretz means the lechem that, in other words, what we're getting grain. It's a very low form. Not a diluted form, but a repackaged. It's not the same. So it's min haaretz through malchus in gashmius, what we're getting, but really it comes from sfiras hachachma. And that's why when a child begins to eat grain, they start saying Abba, Abba, Ima. What he explained in the Maimer is that what the child is saying is the absolute truth. It has deep. First of all, he recognizes it 100%. He knows who his father is. He's not confused. Don't tell him, oh, go to someone else today. That doesn't work.
You just had in the story, the mashal or whatever, with the father, the kid saying the father. Not about chachma, but the reality of it. In the Torah.
No. So in this Maimer, when we learned it last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago.
Okay,
right? So the Alter Rebbe is saying, maybe we spoke about it Shabbos.
Okay.
So what the Alter Rebbe is saying is when the Yidden ate matzah, that the matzah is also from Sfiras HaChachma. And when the Yidden were in Mitzrayim, they had to be fed some of this Chachma, what is Chachma? Emunah in the Eibishter beyond Creator. Why does it say in the Aseres Adibros Anechi Hashem Olikecha Asher Yitzisicha Meretz Mitzrayim not Baros Yishmayim Ba'aretz? Because this is an Eibishter for Yidden. You who were in Mitzrayim, Yitzisicha, I took you out. We believe in an Eibishter that's way beyond, that takes us out of our restraints, that we could have an experience with the Eibishter that's Sever Kol Alman, that's not Shaykh Agoyim. What happens when we eat matzah? This part of the Maimer, this part of the Maimer, the Tzemach Tzedek, he's trying to do something magical. You with me? Ich kann geben mal Moschel. Mit davon überchazer in the Moschel Efshe. Ist bald an Schlafen werden?
No, I'm just reading.
Nee? Oh.
Just looking.
Here's right, this has a Biel dike Moschel. Okay? So we all know that, how does Chachma work? Chachma works when a person is struggling with a piece of, I can't verstehen Psainian, we'll say Gemara, because Gemara you can't understand. And you're looking at it, and you're thinking, and then with Tamol, there's a flash.
Hold up.
You have change.
I got you.
Oh, thank you very much. So we're going to take us. Please buy your sushi from the sushi spot. 718-756-4040. Oh, shkoya. Station identification. So.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Okay, so when a person is struggling and they're thinking about it, and then there's like a moment, there's an aha. there's like there's the Chokhmah, the Barak HaMavrik, there's a feeling that overcomes the person. Oh, I got it. Even though
it's saying there's a separation between the aha of the brain and the aha of the body?
No. Even though the details weren't worked out yet.
No, I got it.
1 second, I'll explain. Right. So the question is, where does the feeling come from? Where are you getting this? You haven't worked that out yet. What's the the release? Where does it come from? Right? Like
yes, on the actual.
Okay. So the explanation in Chassidus is that what actually happens. It's over there. Don't worry about it. What actually happens? What is that moment? What is the aha moment? The aha moment is a aliyah. Oh. The aha moment is an aliyah from Bina to Chokhmah. The aha moment is like the sky opened and you saw it. When you see something, you don't have to understand it. You see it. In other words, you can't argue with me that it isn't.
You don't have to understand it.
You don't have to understand it. In other words, someone's going to see a car that suddenly it's flying in the air. And someone else is going to say, yeah, but it's not possible. Say, listen, so when the moment that you're struggling with the idea, and the idea revealed itself to you. And that's exactly why, at that time, you don't understand it yet. Because you didn't process it. But something happened. You had an experience. That experience, that gift, that experience, that's from the world of Chokhmah. That's that aha, flash that you have to work through.
So that's what. So again, back to it's completely different what I thought in the beginning. But back to what I said. Is this where the body is acknowledging? Basically, the body sees it. So the body is now because the brain is there, right?
The brain contains Chokhmah in it also.
Right. But it's the body that has to channel it and get to that chachma in the brain.
It's bina. The difference between chachma and bina.
No, that's chewing the actual information. I'm saying, like, in order for the chachma, for the actual physical brain, it's the body essentially that makes that connection. Because like a brain on its own, it has that extra physical step of the body. The eyes, for example, like you said, that see it.
No, the eyes is a marshal. You're asking, what is it that takes us to that place? It's the meditation.
The eyes that see it is still the eyes for the chachma. It's not about physical eyes or not physical eyes. It's the eyes that are. Right. But that's the body, because the brain on its own.
I'm not sure
is a
what
separate
you mean.
mechanism.
I'm not sure. In other words, what's the point of the marshal is that there's a chachma,
right,
is experienced in a different way than bina, and it has a physical sensation, and we experience it, and we don't understand 100%.
Both chachma and bina have tools which establish how you get the chachma and bina.
No.
And are those tools there's outside
beings
besides for the
it's a seichel. It's a work of seichel. Meditation is a work of seichel. It's a process of meditation.
But I think I just see like the body has more to it than just saying that the seichel, the chachma, and the bina, that the seichel itself is what manifests both the chachma and the bina after that. The body, like, and especially with the proof, the fact that you're saying the lechem, the blood which sustains the brain, the oxygen, all of those things play a role in the seichel having that aha moment.
Right, the lechem is another point. Whatever, okay. One second. I want to just, there's one more point. There's one more nakuda. Just like with the child, when the child says, "Oh, this is my father, Abba," he's 1 year old, whatever it is, his understanding grows, his understanding deepens. When the Yidden ate matzah in Mitzrayim, they had a moment of a katnus, of an amunas Hashem. But the point isn't to remain in that small, in that petty understanding of the Eibishter. Right. The point is for it to become more sophisticated.
But in order for it to become sophisticated, you have to have that moment.
Right. It has to be on that foundation.
You're ready reading this?
So let's take a look.
Get it out of the way early.
Vihine be'emes. Okay, like for me, when I come in, I'm in it. We have to get together to get into the mind. Okay, and we'll keep an eye on the time.
Or
Vihine be'emes. Kol Yisrael ha'ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. Be'emunas oimen. All Yidden are ma'aminim. This is a lashon of a pasuk. Emunas oimen, emuna kvua v'yosed baltimut. The word oimen means practice, repetition. Right? That it's built in and it's firm like a peg that won't budge. Chas v'sholem. Every yid, our emuna is absolutely solid. It's so deep. Sheyuchalim tzeh nafshe al kedusha Hashem yizbarach. Now, any meditation that a person has about the Eibishter, if it's based on seichel, the conclusion can't be Mesiras Nefesh. Because the conclusion of my existence can't conclude that I shouldn't conclude that I shouldn't be. So that's why it's referred to as Emunah, because the conclusion is, I'm ready to be Mesiras Nefesh. Mikol Mokom. So even though every Yid has firm Emunah, Harei ein masiga inyan mahu. Doesn't understand it fully. He doesn't understand mahu mohusa yizbarich, what the Eibishter is. He doesn't understand bitlo elam mimitzias mamish keziv hashemish b'shemes she'ein aziv nira klal. That there is no, in other words, how is it in truth? In truth, there's no world. Yeah, but we don't experience that. Our whole prism, our whole approach is only that physical existence. We don't know anything that's not physical. If someone says to you, imagine your neshama had the capacity to think before it was in a body. Before it was in a body, it wasn't limited to a physical imagination. Now, everything that you think about is all within this framework of physical existence. That's true. But I can't imagine what it would be like. It's like saying, imagine there would be 11 spheres. What would it be, the 11th one? It's not in our existence. So when we're here, we see the world. We see a mitzvas. Why do we see the world? So what do? We dabble in it like children. We're like, oh yeah, but really the world is bottle, and we're going to learn a maimer and there's Sefer Kalam. And he thinks about that. If we would see the Elikus in the world, you can't compare our knowledge of the bittul of the Elamis the way it really is. V'hareze k'moshel kriyas Abba she'atine keire legabe atzmius bir inyan eich shehu ve'eich shehagadol mevinoi. When we say the world is bubble, it's like the child saying, "Father." We don't really understand anything. It's completely outside of our existence. V'hainu shehushpa. What happens for the child? The child has a fragment, mibechinas daiti is barach ha'atzmius. The Eibishter, Shri Yedeas Atzmei, B'Yedeas, V'Yedeas Kol Nivroim, U'Machayos, Ha'Mayidei Yedeazu, V'Hei B'Teilim B'Yedeazu, K'ziv HaShemesh B'Shemesh, that the Nivroim are completely bottled. Hine Yedeazu, Nitzamtzemo, V'Nislabsha B'Levushim, V'Alomim, Ad Shlei Museges B'Das Ha'odom. She'eda Kol Inyan Amiti, Allah, that the person should know it. However, Elo, She'eni Yochel Litfes Atzmei, Tadover K'meishu B'Daiti Yizbarech. Rak Tamtzis or Inyan B'Kitzer, that Hayezer Yochanim Yuchad is a one and only Eibishter, Kula can make Allah Hashiv. Shezeo Yudei B'Daiti, that's what you know. L'fi She'i Efshe She'yasek Adavar K'meishahu. So therefore, Ein an Inyan B'Y Rak B'Chinas Amunah. We don't, it's not a hasaga. It's not an understanding. It's an amunah. Like the Tinnik, the Mashal Tfis is a Tinnik, Psach Halacha, B'li Atam V'Aim, K'meishahu, Kriz a Tinnik, Ava'im Chulu. Where did the Yidden get this from? Matzah. In other words, where did the Yidden gain access to something that really Nivroim can't know? Like by Goyim, it's not Shaykh. It was through eating matzah. V'lachein ha-matzah is called lechem oini, shelei hispik lahachmitz, because it's very humble. It's like a moment that they saw something. The
point is that the second you manifest it beyond the chachma, you're going negative. Even though you're growing, but you're going negative in this point because it has to be at that bottled state. It has to be at that simplicity of the child where there's no other ulterior motive, so to speak, so that it's Kabbalah's all completely
right.
Without.
What the Tzemach Tzedek is going to explain is he's going to want us to be able to deepen the knowledge and remain humble. What changes something from being matzah to chametz? Just time. Right? It's like saying, oh, people in prison, they come out more corrupt. What changed? Like they're wild. Like what did the time do? It made you better or it made you worse? It made you a bigger criminal or right? So when everything is based on you, when everything is based on your ego, so the more you learn, the bigger the ego. When the foundation is self-preservation, how am I going to scan? You meet a guy, you didn't talk to him for 2 years, you talked to him 2 years later, you're like, wow, this guy is a crook like I never met before. Like, whatever I thought he was doing 2 years ago, in yeshiva, he had a second birth certificate. Now it's already, you know what I mean? He has 12 passports. It's like on a whole different level. The Alter Rebbe is saying is that what we want to do, we want to have, the foundation is bittul. And now when you add time, it's going to stay bittul, but it's not going to, your ego is not going to grow with the talent. It's going to always stay humble. That, in other words, the idea of Sfiras HaOmer is that the katnus, that small idea, like by the child, he's going to get older, his understanding of what it means to be a parent is going to deepen. It's going to get richer. So it was included in that original idea. So really what happens now in this last part of the Maimer, that Tzemach Tzedek is reaching for something that's like a little bit he's reaching for like a magical space. You know, like the Gemara says about the Gemara wegen Dremlin.
Which one?
There's twice actually where it describes Nim v'lei nim, tir v'lei tir. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, yes.
There's a Gemara. It says, oh, David HaMelech. There's a Gemara in Brachos or in Megillah.
He didn't come that day.
It's describing that David HaMelech. It describes being in like a day's state, like.
Oh yeah, it's the beginning of Brachos we discussed this.
Yeah. By David, you see.
The Shachar.
So yeah. After Chatzos, till Chatzos, he was misnamnim kesus, and then anyway, the lashon misnam. He wasn't really sleeping, right? The Tzemach Tzedek it's like if you push me, I can't tell you that this is real. But I want to tell you that there's a between. There's what you understand, and there's what you don't understand. But really, with Avodah, you could push.
You can attain
You
something.
could get some revelation of what you can understand, could also be revealed, and you're going to understand it, even though you can't understand it.
Right now you can't.
It's broadening the circumstance as opposed to adding and creating and
Referring to what particular?
to take the
of
bittul,
Sefer.
to take the bittul and go to dwell
He's saying
in the
that's
bittul
on a
itself.
journey.
To understand, to truly be massive, not in emunah, not katnus for emunah. Right? Not mich in the katnus. A little bit of a godless. A little bit of a real havana.
And for me?
For an ordinary person nowadays, that's where he's going. And then he's going to say, really, the full experience is going to be when Mashiach comes. Right? And what he says, maybe with a little interpretation, what you could say is like this, that I want to show, the whole point of the Nefesh Elikis is to impact the Nefesh Habamis. Why is the Nefesh Elikis, why is his knowledge so poor? Be'emes, the Nefesh Elikis should know Likus Be'emes. The reason he has a very Megushim knowledge is because he has to explain it to the Nefesh Habamis. So if you influence the Nefesh Habamis, that's how you're going to realize that this knowledge is greater than regular knowledge. It's deeper. You see that you change the Nefesh Habamis, you convince the Nefesh Habamis, because what you're holding on to is magical. It's not just stam idea. It's through influencing the Nefesh Habamis.
But that can only be done through Chassidus then.
So this is in the next story. Islam Elaine in Abyssal. Here, he's still speaking about the katnus. Let's start from V'zehi Gia Lahem, one line before. V'zeh, page 46. V'zehi Gia Lahem Aidei Matzah. The Matzah gave them the initial knowledge of Sefer. Lechem Oini, Shelo Hispik Lahachmitz, there was no ego. Ki Achamitz Meirab Chenes Hayesh, Shu Nitvach V'nigva, so angeblasen, and that's Bina. Bina is hashbosas hadover, full comprehension, Le'evet, Rechev, U'B'chenes Yesh, Mashenkim B'chenes HaChochma, Keach Ma Bittul B'tachlis, Chochma is Bittul. Ki Kul, like I explained it before Yossi, before you came, Ki Kula Kamei Kolo Chashiv, that really the whole world is bottled. That knowledge of the Eibishter as Ein Sof, that there's nothing else, we got like a glimpse of it when we left Mitzrayim. That's why there was no chometz. It was humble, because the Eibishter was revealed. What's the inyan of Ure'eya Munah? Don't leave the Munah in a state of katnus. To farnes for Munah. You're going to eat matzah, michled in hemenusa. Derech HaKabbalah, zeu soich hamatzah yimechin the katnus the Abba. It's of Abba, it's chokhmah, but it's katnus. Shenim shochin munukva, that comes down, that has a hashbah. Skipping the rest of the parentheses. Pirush, shebechinus meichin the gadlus the Abba. The meichin the gadlus is the full understanding. Who inyan gilui atzmi is chokhmah is barach. The way it truly is. Avol kishenis tzamtzema b'chinas levush hamaylim, and it's a chiluf of shem elikim hamaylim k'fi asogas mailas hanetzolim v'nivroim. So then nikna katnus kanal that we gashmiyim should be able to understand it. So it's a small form. Who's the Eivish there? Our Father. Was meint das? So the emes take azay.
We understand. So the way we understand.
Yeah. Now Gimel v'hinei. It's just like they ate matzah then. We also have to eat matzah. Ba'erev techel matzah. Think about ba'erev means also in this man hagolos. Hakosuf kovei choyva. Ki be'emes tzarech liyas b'chines yitzias Mitzrayim. Tzarech yitzias Mitzrayim boi. Beruchnius, Gam Ato, my page didn't. Kihine. We need that too, because Yidden have beis nefashis. Nefesh habamis that comes from Klippa. Shesham sheirush ainum is the kodel. The kodel the kaiperin is yesh. Then there's the nefesh akid chelik el kamimal be'id lo mailo. He le mailo kamin amalachim. The nefesh alikis is we learned already. I'm going a little quickly because we learned this. Hagam that the malachim are bitul. Utzva shemayim l'cham mishtachavin. Mikom ken ein lehem hasaga b'mhus vas misolakus mamish. The malachim are just like we said before, that the Goyim, they know the Eibishter as the Bashefer. The Malachim also. They know what's the Eibishter? They're Shodish. Sharehim b'chinas yesh v'nifrodim. V'ilo hoya it is of mizgal aleim, if the true Gilui of Halikus, how you betelim Metzias, they would completely disintegrate. Kamei shul kamei. Hello. It's hidden from them, and that's how they become a yesh. But they're not a yesh like us. They're beginning bittul a yesh. They the yosam because they know Shem is having me'ayim, and that's called kaknus. Al derech hanal, just like he said before. In Amunah, avol neshamas Yisrael before we're in a goof. Nimshachim mechachmasi is barech alikus mamash. They saw the truth. They saw the real elikus, the infinite elikus, greater than creator. However, descended even lower than Madregas HaMalachim. Since the Nefesh Abamis is a full yesh, why did that happen? Remember, the nefesh habamis you can't bring the bittul b'metzias, but bittul ayesh you got to work on. Shezel bittul ayesh katnus in a small way. V'zeu seidi tzias mitzrayim shetzorach liz l'chol yeh mamish. That's the avodah. Ad sheyagia loimer b'kishma Hashem Elokeinu Hashem echad. Oh, so this yagia is to deepen. Don't leave it initial katnus. To develop it, you have to broaden it. It should be understood more than just that emunah. That we didn't have Havaya higher than Elikim. Havaya echad kanal, and that's why it's Elikenu. That the nefesh habamis should also know that the Eibishter is more than just creator. You're using a human brain. That's the meaning. Meditation is but nevertheless, don't forget about the nefesh habamis. Don't forget about the world. Which look to be a yesh, v'dover, v'shayaskel. You should understand the Hashem b'chinas bittul. If the mizbeninus will be only Raka is being musvatz musi is barach, and achar kfila, you're going to open your eyes. K'shiyiftach eino yirah elam u'maloi leyesh v'dover. So you chalip u'madri gosim v'yilachim b'mitzudas tavis ha'elam. You're going to fall into the trap. V'yasa yesh ikar hisi v'enachabei v'enenu. Avol k'shenosan enim v'mata b'tfilo. When your davening was about gashmias, about material things, v'hisi you understood bitl hayesh la'ashurei. He understood truly that the whole world, the way it is, begashmi is, everything is all bottled to Eibishter. Lo yipachas v'sholom. Karenis amis etzlei achtas Hashem lamata be'eni basur became one. Zeu seid ata horeisa ladas. Pirush. The neshama was nizgalis beguf. Why is the neshama revealed? Legalis deya as nefesh habamis. Ladas. The reason why you revealed the neshama is ladas, that the nefesh habamis should know that avaya hu elikim. Ulezachacha, to refine the nefesh habamis. You're going to be zoichet to geula. Ayin ba'ayin nira. What are we going to see? Ki ato Hashem. When is that? La'asad lovi. Pirush oz yi asagas mosa elikus mamash, the neshamas Yisrael, and the malachim are going to say kodesh to the neshamas. Because the malachim are yesh. Rak shein b'chinas bittul in katnus. Lo yasavas amahus. They don't see the real truth, but neshamas. Yehaz gili muhus olakus b'chinas gadlus. How do they get it? Ach ze bolahem. It's only because now we use our knowledge of Elikus to affect the Nefesh HaBahamis. Because we're trying to make a change in the world, we're doing iskafia, we're showing the power of the Eibishter, and that's the meaning, V'zehu, she'ayin nefesh olikis uriyasel asid lavei. The fact that the Yetzer Tov, that the Nefesh Elikis in the future will see Elikus in that way, hu be'ayin shahareisel Nefesh HaBahamis. It's because you showed the Nefesh HaBahamis in Mamish B'Re'iyah Habitul Hayesh. U'mitziyusa, you only showed the Mitziyas of Hashem. V'lei Mahusay. So because you showed it like that, Shekazeh, the way he explained, Yia Achar Kach Koyach Ayin Aroya Shaloi B'Mhusay Elikus V'dal, that will be able to see proper Elikus. V'hinei Derech Prat, Tzarech Liyis Yis Mitzrayim B'chol Yom, you got to do this every single day. Cholas Hashana is Pesach. She'oz nimshach hakeach hazel nefesh elikis. She'tucha lezachech nefesh habahamis. The nefesh elikis should have the power to convince the nefesh habahamis. V'likbaya ba emuna anha biyasid baltimit. Lias me'ira begili b'meiche v'libay. And that's ayidei hamatzah kanal.
But we have to keep the actual nefesh elikis also from understanding too much, technically, no?
What do you mean?
Because even the nefesh elikis, when he grows too much in what is understanding Havana of Hashem, it becomes a problem, because then he starts to think that he understands the Eibishter, and he loses that initial bittul. It's more like you have to have that initial bittul, you have to broaden it as opposed to add onto it. No?
Okay, so in other words, it's possible to become. I heard a short clip from a Fabrengen, Rab Mendel. Someone says, you know, alles kann man bluffen, chutz von Davna. The Davna ba'aveda, that you can't, So Rab Mendel says, I remember the Shoshana night in Lubavitch, whatever, 1 year, there were like 400 bacharim davening ba'aveda. Those 400 people, many of them were lost.
So even
to
that,
communism, to whatever. In other words,
even that you can
he wasn't trying to say it in a. But he said, but the people that weren't davening ba'aveda, and they were sitting and looking at everybody else, they became apikusim. So in other words, episode is yegepel, episode, yeah. But so the Hainu Adei Matzah Kanal Shenitztavinu la'eichla b'leil tezvav v'nisna. Sha'oz, you'll see, hopefully you'll see, the way the Tzemach Tzedek is pushing. Sha'oz nimshachim ha'meichin hanal, the Kolos Neshamas Yisrael. On the first night of Pesach, there's a gift given to the Yidden, and that's Eir Chachmasa Yisbarich. The Eir HaChachma. Chachma means Hu Levade Hu Ve'in Zolase. Let's go back for a minute. In the first Ois, one of the things we spoke about was, you can't say that the guf, the gabi, the neshama, is not a metzias. You can't say that. You could say that the guf is bottled to the neshama, but you can't say kolo chashivi. Why? Because the whole function of the neshama is to be mechaya the guf. So how could you say that the guf is nothing? Right? Of course, it's a something. The guf is something, l'gabi the neshama. What we're saying here is that we were gifted with a yediyah that the world is in gansum garnish l'gabi the Eibishter. That can't be to the Eibishter as creator. Because the Eibishter as creator, what do you mean? He's creating. So the world episadach, the world of the epis. So on Pesach, the gift was that there's Eibishter that's nisgov, merumim, the nisgov, the naila. So that was gifted Pesach night. The Malkan Neshama, kefi koicham se'es, as much as they were able to process. That all the Yidden said, this is my father. The Eibishter is there. Das is. Misham, from that first night, meir l'kol nefesh biprat. every Yid, that was in a general way to the Mokkad HaNeshamas, every Yid receives it, and that's the Matzah. The healing mitzvahs achilas matzah is laila rishon levav, only the first night. Achakach orishus, Maimer Azal, one pasuk says, sheishes yomim techal matzahs, only 6 days. Another pasuk says, shivas yomim. What does it say? Ma shvi, just like on shvi shel pesach rishus, you don't have to eat matzah, don't eat anything. Af shisha rishus, only laila rishona, only the first night. Why? Ki hashbosas nefesh abamis hanam. Shai days and it mitzvahs achilas matzah. Ha'ikar hu b'shisha midesah. Why? What's the shisha yomim? Why does the pasuk say shisha yomim? Sheishes yomim techol matzahs. Because the main bitter of the nefesh habamis is in the 6 midas, not in malchus, or not in moichin of the nefesh habamis. Because the shviras hakelim was only in the midas. Remember, we learned this in Amayim and Torah. Midas, Chesed wanted Chesed all the way. Gvura wanted Gvura all the way. Seichel doesn't work that way. So the Shvira was not in the Meichin of Nefesh, of Klippa. The Shvira was in the Midas of Klippa. So it's only in the 6, Chagas Nehi. Shebehem Hoya Shvira. That's where the Tikkun is needed. That's why the Pasuk says, Sheishes Yom Techol Matzos. Ach, Lerameis, Pies Hapchus Shisha Yomim Heim, Shisha Midas Ha'elu, Aidei HaMatzah. What's being hinted? That these days we have to transform the Midas of the Yetzer Hara. Ach, Balayla Rishon, on the first night, Nimshach HaKeach Bechlolos. V'achakach Nimshach HaKol HaShisha Yomim. And then come the Yemei HaSfira, after the first day, Mem Tes Yomim, which is his Chalkos, Prote Protos, Haimidas, Kol HaKol Mezayin, V'amrei Hayen Yen Echad Lo'emer. So your Mamshech HaOreh from the Midas Al Yenis, from Kedusha, B'mida Echad, the Knesset Yisrael, Umisham Al Nafshi Ha'likis, V'hoyer Es Hamida Protis Nefesh Habamis. You see what he's saying here? Very clear. You know, this, in other words, I'm not talking about what we know how to do and what we don't know how to do.
And what's available.
What he's saying is, you know how this process works? The process works by more gili elikus to your neshama. The more gili elikus to your neshama, then with the merchandise that you got, you could try to impact more of the nefesh habamis. So the people who think about, I have to clean up this, and I have to clean up more, and I have to clean up more, that's not how it works. You have to bring in more positive energy of the nefesh elikis.
You got to work on the
meaning,
hone the knife. When you have the knife,
right,
sharp knife, you'll be able
you have to reach for more and more of that Abba that you can't understand, that we should understand it more. Sometimes we learn Chassidus with someone who never learned Chassidus before. You read this, Esesfiris and the Eilumis and this and that. He's like, this is all taken for granted? Where did this come from?
You have a foundation.
What happens? We have an Amunah. And on the Amunah, the whole Chassidus could happen. Right? The Rebbe is the Rebbe. Now whatever the Rebbe says.
Yeah.
Right? Someone who doesn't understand the whole thing, I don't know what the Rebbe said, so what if he said?
Exactly.
You know,
that's what they say. The Torah said a bunch of rabbis.
Right, exactly. Right. My cousin said something else.
Let's go back now. Let's get things straight.
Right.
You have to have understanding before you have a conversation. You have to know where.
Right. So the Memtes Yomim is to bring the light of Seviv, to bring that. Listen, Vav Veisich the Eibusher is Balabas and Mein Leben. To bring it into more and more of our Nefesh Elikis. And then it could have a hashpa on the Nefesh Habamis. So he's saying here, Mamshich ha'orev b'mida echalik misham al nafshi ha'elikis lahoyer es hamida pratis Nefesh Habamis lavcha mecheshach le'er. Zeh say la'omer on the last page. That's why it says la'omer. Hayoim, bring the light, la'omer, to the behemoth. In other words, into practical living. Don't tell me whatever's in your mind. Show me the way you're living b'poel mamash.
So then Bayomer should be more appropriate then.
Good, okay, we'll have the...
Not in the Torah, but...
We'll learn the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. Sham Shochi, the law is letoich. Du sagst, und was ist Beis? Ich hätte in a wenig. Shehu, Misa'ire, Michael Behema, Retzolim, and Nefesh Habam is... Kol Zehu, Ham Shocha, V'chinas Gilui. What's happening now is no longer Kabbalah Soil. The Avodah now is to reveal a Likus. V'lei B'chinas Helam. Not like B'matzah, which is the Inyan Amuna Hanal. More and more revelation. Ad she'achar kach b'shavuos. Nitanat Torah, b'chinas amitius meichin legadlus. What happened by Matan Torah? Ultimate revelation. Hayagili alikos b'tachlis b'neshamas Yisrael. Not mamale, because if it would be mamale, the Yidden wouldn't freak out. The fuse wouldn't jump. The whole point is that the voltage was too high. Ad shall kol diru parcha nishmasam. The world ended. Me'itzim agili v'asaga tal Torah yimachaya yisam lizbal asaga zuchulu. What happens on Shvi Shal Pesach? He asked questions in the beginning of the Maimer. He's answering the questions now. It's the Yom HaShishi L'Sfira. You know what happens? Nichnas Boi Mayach HaChachma. The bittul of Elikus, that there's nothing else other than the Eibishter and the whole world is bottled b'tachlis, is revealed on Shvi Shal Pesach. Shehu Arishin Mizayin Meichin. Chachma Bina Das, that's divided into two, Chesed Gvura. Hanichnosim B'zayin Yimei Asfira. Lachein Ozu Yom Tov Gomor. That's why it's a total Yom Tov. Because it's a complete revelation. The hidden was revealed. Like it says in the Zohar, what are you talking to the Midas? It's an Atik. Right? You look at it again clearly, what's he saying? It's this Inyan of Chochmah, the knowledge of Bitla Elumis. The first night of Pesach was the lower level of Malchus. Malchus, the way it is a keser for Bia. The Pesach, Bam Shachaz Beprotos. Shvi Shal Pesach, Shekvar Nimshach Am Shocha Mea Chachma L'Shishim Midis Ikrim Shabem Oya Shvira. Oz Eila Chachma L'Kabel Ha'arim Yatzmusi Yizbarach Shalamayla Mayla Mea Chachma. The Yidden are able and capable to fully understand Seiviv. V'zeu Seid Mefarnesin L'Aviyam Shabashamayim. Because now there's a broadening of, in other words, now Aviyam Shabashamayim is satiated. Remember we said Abba Abba? Now when you say Abba Abba, you understand already what it really means. For us, I repeat this so many times because I feel it in this point that Matzah Rivkin told me. I'm sure he told many people that when he didn't know what a Rebbe was, like, how was he supposed to know what a Rebbe, He says the Rebbe Pasha patiently, even through trial and error. Like I didn't listen to him, he pushed me. Then I realized, wow, this is a special power. It took, right? Certain things happened. The Rebbe asked him to do something. He's like, you did it? Right? Like, and he's like, wow. He told me, the Rebbe had me genommen von Hand. He showed me what it is. And then, so you say, well, you're a logical person, explain it to me. Right? But I experience it. I experience it. It's Gorandish. That's what happened. That's Achan Shal Pesach. For us, and that's the Mefarnesim. Tate, Rebbe. But
so essentially, it's saying that without Pesach, the Leil Pesach, you can't experience it. Meaning it has to be sort of.
It's gifted.
So there is no other.
Otherwise, it's only Bashefer. The Eibusher is the creator. The magic, the miracle of the Jew that Chassidus speaks about. He says, "V'az gam adibur oile imoy, ki pia pascha b'chachma." In other words, even Malchus, you could even speak about it.
That's how real it is.
That the Chachma is Pia Pascha b'Chachma. But Bina, Meila Bina, you could express. Chachma, you could express. Where could you express Chachma? Yeah, Pia Pascha. After the Avodah, Uba'aliyas HaChachma l'kabel mekeira, arigam ad-dibur nichobe. And that's the Sayyid of Atem Tacharishon that it says by Kriyas Yamsuf. That was the Aliyah to receive from higher. And that's why V'lachei Nemar is answering the question, B'yoyim Ashvi, Shvi, Shal Pesach, it says Atzeres Lavaya. It doesn't say Atzeres Tia Lachem. It doesn't say plain Atzeres. It says Atzeres Tia Atzeres Lavaya. Shu Atzeres Mihiyes Hispashtus Ha'ore Umeichem L'dibur. It's no more about a fraction, a fragment, a ray. Ela Eilim L'mayla. It's purity, pure knowledge. Zeu Seid Maimer Azal Mashvi Rishus. What does it mean, Shvi is Rishus? That you don't have to eat matzah on the seventh day. Ki Amshachas Meichen Eilim Atik Yemin Hu Nikra Rishus Fa'alma Dechiru. It's a place of freedom. In other words, once a person experiences the Eibishter in that level of experience, then Elikus is freedom, it's not restriction. Right? Then the Yiddishkeit becomes the greatest thing. It's the world of freedom. It's not, I'm in bondage. It's freedom, it's a shus. That's your place of volition. That's why it doesn't talk about it doesn't talk about Melechas Eichel Nefesh Kederech Sheniska B'Shai Yamim Teirin Shalei Neser B'Mel Melechas Avoda, because Melechas Avoda is Tikkun of Noiga V'Neser B'Kol Yom Tiv. Have Melechas Eichel Nefesh, Melechas Avoda, fixing the world, fixing Noiga. Now what to do on Yom Tiv? Melechas Eichel Nefesh, which is the Amshacha L'Malchus, which is called Nefesh, Kinyan HaMatzah now, the lower form, Murei Amuna, so you have to do it on Yom Tov. However, no, Matzah is the conduit, Tuvia, but only a week earlier. Ulefi shebishvi shel Pesach hayaliyah ba'atik pa'arich ampin, shelamayla me'echol nefesh, lachen le'never beferish, achashe yochel. Of course, you're allowed to eat, but beer the Indian Derech Mitzvosecha Ba'alil Gilim Husalikus. It's Mehusalikus. The essence of the Eibusher was revealed. V'lei b'chinas Helen v'katnus kanal. Again, Hafach Yom Li'abosha, what's usually concealed, was exposed. V'hine kol Yom Tovim Ma'elu. Hagam shekois anachnu einenu ro'im agilui. We don't see this. So you're telling me all this magic, but mikol mokaim be'emes. I want you to know it's real, you're experiencing it, it's really in you. In the small form. So because they're not masig mahus elikus, there's something that could be gifted to them. Hey, here is something more. Then on Zayin Shal Pesach or on Shavuos, there's an Ora Yeser Gedola. Mahus Elikus Mamish. Mishkos of Vayar Yisrael. Anoichi Avaya Chulu. The Eibusher is speaking to the Yidden. It's not Elikim anymore. Umeir Gamkein Benefesh Mamish. So you see, when I read this, Tzemach Tzedek is, you see, look, Elo, Shaguf Ein Roye Begilui, it's not really revealed, but there's a Yisrin Gadol, Ba'averes Hashem b'simcha v'einig megili zeh. You'll see people are happier. There's something in the air. After select tzefrei. There's
more voltage there.
Yeah.